What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So there's a video online. It's by Nick Tech, and shout out to Nick Tech. I follow your videos because I watch all the GPU stuff. And this video is titled, "These two games are 7 years apart." Now, this video shows Arkham Knight, shows a lot of its mechanics, shows a few things, and compares it to Gotham Knights. Now, already we know that Batman Arkham Knight is mechanically superior to Gotham Knights. This is something that I've said many times. In fact, I say it all the time. In fact, the Batmobile in Arkham Knight is better than some racing games cars, straight up, because Rocksteady put in so much work. In fact, Stephen Hill in an interview said that he is thankful that Warner gave them extra time to work on the Batmobile, to flesh it out and to make sure things are in place. Now, here is something, though. Even many people are citing this video. They've said things like, how does a game from 7 years ago play better than a game that just came out this year? That's a very good question. But play better is kind of subjective, though, because those of us who play Gotham Knights, I don't know where someone else is getting play better from, whereas somebody else is looking at the game going, I think this game plays fine. Here's something a lot of people are missing out, because a lot of folk want to see, Gotham Knights do well. A lot of people want the game, or wanted the game, to have a quality that is on par with a lot of the games that have come out in the recent years. But one thing that no one is really talking about is Arkham Knight is not a game that just was released 7 years ago. Arkham Knight is a game that was in the making more than 10 years ago. You see, not a lot of people are actually pointing to games like Arkham Asylum, the game that built the foundation and the groundwork for Batman Arkham Knight. I'm playing it here on 1440. You're seeing it here on my screen. You look at Batman Arkham Asylum and you say to yourself, man, this game was the OG game. I remember this game. In fact, this was not even the first Arkham game that I played. The first Arkham game that I played, oh, look, this guy, I didn't even know this enemy type. The first Arkham game that I played was Arkham City. I remember I played it in a friend's house. I finally got myself an Xbox about a year after I went to GameStop. I said, I need the Batman Arkham game. They said, which one are you talking about? I said, I don't even know the name. They gave me Arkham Asylum. I went home. I put it in. I played it. I said, this is not the Arkham game that I played. I went back. I said, no, I want the other one. I didn't even know the names. They gave me Arkham City. I went home. I was like, this is the Arkham game I played. I could not really play Arkham Asylum at that time because I kind of thought the mechanics were dated and kind of, out of whack. But I was not looking at the big picture. There's no way I could have seen the big picture because I didn't play the first game on release. All I played was the game that was much more polished, the game that had better aesthetics, better audio, better combat mechanics, and that was my exposure to the game, right? Now, what a lot of people are probably not paying very close attention to is, over the years, the baseline Arkham Asylum grew to become Arkham City, arguably one of the best superhero games out there, on par with Marvel's Spider-Man, Metacritic scores, reviews, and all. And then by the time Arkham Knight came out, all those systems, all those aspects of their development was already polished. Everything else was just adding icing on the cake. The drones in Batman Arkham Knight, I haven't even seen that quality in any game till date. I look at the drones in Gotham Knights and I'm like, man, this team, they have a lot of growth still ahead of them. It's not that they cannot design very much better drones. It's just they are limited in how much they could put into their own game. But if you think about it, folks, this is their first attempt at a video game for a team that is this new, that is coming into this particular aspect of game development. And this is what they've been able to come out for the very first time. This is their Arkham Asylum. This is their baseline. And to me, this baseline is very impressive. And I understand that people might say, but the two games, Arkham Knight and the other one, are 7 years apart. Well, what if you could think about how Warner Bros. Games Montreal, the team that worked on this game, what if you could think about how long and how much they can grow in a short period of time? What if you could consider that as, say, maybe this is how we should look at a game like this? Because a lot of people do it for other studios. I remember when we were talking about the whole 30 FPS thing on console, I said, well, but A Plague Tale is at 30 FPS. And somebody said, well, that's a small studio. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know that studio has actually worked on at least 10 times more games than Warner Bros. Games Montreal? Look at them, Asobo Studio. This is the games that they've worked on. Plague Tale Requiem. They've worked on Flight Simulator, the first Plague Tale game, Innocence, The Crew 2, Disney games, all these other games here. They worked a little bit on Quantum Break, Kinetic Crush, Fuel, and a bunch of other games. I think, did I see Recore here? Yeah. This team has touched more games than Warner Bros. Games Montreal. So their experience is not surprising that they're bringing out games that are like this. So you may call them a small studio, but I think experience is actually what really does tell. Some people have also said, well, Insomniac Spider-Man also looks pretty great. I get it. But ladies and gentlemen, do you know when Insomniac Games was actually founded? It was founded in 1994, February 28th, 1994. I can guarantee you a lot of people that are playing Gotham Knights were not born in 94. I remember 1994. I'm not even that old. I remember, let me give you my 1994 highlight. Nigeria qualified for its first World Cup. I was living in the projects back then, and we won our first game. We beat Bulgaria by 3-0. It was the most exciting thing in my life. The next morning in school, every single one of us, all the little kids, were talking about it. Insomniac was already grinding video games by then. So when they come out with a game like Marvel Spider-Man, everyone's like, oh, Insomniac. Oh, you guys are just made up of wonderful geniuses. Yo, Rome was not built in a day. If you want Gotham Knights to be able to play like Arkham Knights, you got to give it some time, because these are studios that have different levels of experience. Now, this is not to say that the Gotham Knights developers don't have the experience. Don't get me wrong, but this is to say that the team as a whole is still limited in their experience, limited in what it is that they're doing. Because a lot of the members of that team do have experience from external studios. Many of you may or may not know the producer on this game worked on, I think the game director or producer, I can't remember, Fleur Marty. She worked on Deus Ex Mankind Divided. And I know many of you who've played that game, you won't let me rest. In my other channel, everybody's like, you should play Deus Ex. I'm like, all right, Mankind Divided, whatever. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I've played, I've beaten. Decent, very good game. And now Gotham Knights. Patrick Redding worked on the Splinter Cell games and worked on a lot of unannounced projects. Well, an unannounced project in Ubisoft. Jeff Eleanor also worked at Ubisoft. The narrative director joined in 2018, also worked in some other studios as well as Ubisoft as well. So this team is still coming together in a sense. The cohesion is still being built. And I think a lot of the expectations, they just fall flat. And this is kind of why I'm in the position where maybe people are like, you know, you're saying all this stuff about these developers, and this is a AAA studio, but it's a AAA studio with very minimal experience. It's just the truth. And the reason I just mentioned all of these different folk just now is because of the old team that made Origins, because I know somebody might ask, well, how about Arkham Origins? There's only one person in the top leadership that I know. There might be other people that we know of anyways, that we saw in all of the promotionals, that actually has been in that studio since Origins time. That's the art director, Jay Evans. And Jay Evans pretty much worked on like the tail end of Origins, a Cold Heart DLC. It's on his resume if you look on his LinkedIn page. So I think if you really want to look at Gotham Knights and say, okay, why is this game like this? What are the industry standards? Who set the industry standards? Are other studios experienced enough to be able to meet these, industry standards? And you start asking these questions, you're going to realize that this is the best possible project that this team could bring out as their first project that was not like, say, Origins. Origins was a project that was done by mostly a different team. A lot of the different elements were actually Rocksteady's elements. So you can't really call that a real, an original project. And so I think this is basically where it is that, as gamers, we probably need to pay a little close attention to. Because if you even go by these same metrics, you look at, say, maybe a game that's coming out like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, right? I hope you know that this game is expected to be groundbreaking, phenomenal. Why? Why would people be expecting that this game be groundbreaking and phenomenal? It's because of Rocksteady's experience. That's why. They have looked at Rocksteady, who's been making games since Urban Chaos Riot Response. That's basically not even, Asylum's not even their first game. It's another game called Riot Response. So they're looking at it and they're like, man, we're expecting that this game is going to knock our socks off. Even for those who are still skeptic about Suicide Squad, you still even know deep down in your heart that Suicide Squad is going to run like butter, is going to play very well, is going to have good writing, it's going to have everything that you were expecting to see in Gotham Knights. This is how you remain optimistic about games, by knowing how they're made, by knowing who's making the game. I'm not going to go to Popeyes and expect a Chick-fil-A quality chicken sandwich. Stop it. I mean, I wonder, someone made fun of me, one of the content creators in this space. He tried to mock me on Twitter, and I just kind of put it down real quick. I thought I'd take the opportunity to answer. He said to me, you don't have to be a chef to know that the food is rotten, because I always tell people, if you want better games, go develop. Yeah, but if you're going to be a food snob, you better know how to cook. And if you don't like the burgers they're selling at McDonald's, go buy some ground beef at Walmart. Get some seasoning and fire up the grill. Isn't that how it goes? I'm a food snob. And so it was funny that he actually used that example because I can cook different continental dishes. I'm not trying to toot my horn here, but I cook for people from different countries and they're like, you're crazy, man. Oh, yeah. If that's how we're going to play it. Because if you're going to mouth off at the chef, you better be able to throw down in the kitchen. Right? But that's not really our subject of conversation right now. Our subject of conversation is we're looking at the potential that's actually out there. If this studio can bring a game like this to life, a game that they've been working on for maybe 5 years, that's usually the time it takes you to make a game like this, regardless of what it is you may think. Open world game, all of the different things, blah, blah, blah. And they're able to pull this off. Imagine what more they could pull off. Somebody was actually talking about the different gliding mechanics and all. I think a lot of this too is about style and presentation. That's pretty much what a lot of this stuff is. Just the way they decided that they were going to approach a whole bunch of stuff. I don't think it really, speaks to even experience. Yes, is there, but yeah, they could copy a lot of these other mechanics if they wanted to, but they wanted to also do their own thing. There's a little side of originality to it that I can respect. Now, the reason I can even respect this, and I'm sure even all the YouTubers on the space can actually relate to this. Imagine or remember how long it took you to even grow your platform on YouTube. It took a while to get to 10,000 subs. I did not show up one day and then my subscriber count started growing like crazy. No, I was at like 900 subs in February of like 2019 or something like that. I had to beg my subs from my other channel to help me hit that 1,000, subscriber mark because it was just impossible. And I stayed there for almost 2-3 years. I was in the single digits, just getting, new subs every so many, I think I was getting like 20 subs a month. Some of you have been here that long. You know the whole drill. So if I'm somebody who's thinking that somehow Warner Brothers Games Montreal is going to make a phenomenal game or they're going to make an Insomniac level game, I have to tell you that will be the most unrealistic expectation in the entire world. And what's crazy is they came out with Gotham Knights as their first iteration, and the people who played the game gave them a 72% positive rating on Steam. On Xbox, they got a 4.3 or 4.2, out of 5 ranking for their first iteration. That is not a Rocksteady influence. I think I don't know if anyone else is seeing what I'm seeing, but I'm seeing the potential being really huge. And I know people will call me crazy, but I've never been worried about that. When I said Marvel Spider-Man was coming out on PC, I said it in 2018. I have the video, I have the receipts. Everybody shook their head and said, "You're crazy. Look at my Marvel Spider-Man on PC, guys. I haven't got it for free. They gave me a free one. I bought one of these GPUs and they gave me a free copy. I bought my son a copy because I was like, man, you're a Spider-Man fan." But here it is. Because potential is a huge thing that a lot of us, for the most part, we don't really pay very close attention to. I already, thought Gotham Knights was not going to be good, and then ended up being a game that I liked. And then looking deeper into the game and looking into the development, looking into the team, looking at what they're capable of, man, I really do think that we are in for a treat. Sure, it will probably be iffy if we'll get a sequel to this game, but if Warner Brothers continues to work with this development company, this development team, and gives them the directive to make single-player games, not this game that kind of seemed like it was a mix of all kinds of different things. I think that's probably past leadership with David Haddad wanting to move everything to, live service games, and then somehow this game didn't even make it there. I think we can get a really solid set of games from this team. It will be very surprising when it happens, but it will take a while. It's not going to be today. Again, I saw one of our audience members say something about, and I don't want to throw you in the mix, bro, but you said something about Arkham City that made me laugh. You said somebody asked the question and he said, one of the mistakes I made was I pre-ordered Arkham City, and he said I was only 10 years old by then. I was like, 10 years old? Yo, I'm over twice your age. I was laughing. I was like, and if he was in that position when he said that, I was laughing because I remember the first time I saw Arkham Asylum, I was over 20 years old. I was in college. I went to a friend's apartment and nobody was home. And I was sitting, I mean, we could all go into each other's houses, not a problem. And everybody played FIFA. We're all Nigerians, just play soccer games. And he had a copy of Arkham City, and I started playing it. And that's how I got hooked. So it's interesting just to see that all of these things did not start in one day. And you, of all people, should be able to attest to it. You weren't even a teenager when you played such a phenomenal game. Man, this is insane. I could continue this conversation, but I'm going to just stop the video here. Talk to me in the comment section. Let's go. Peace out.